Well, good evening. This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant evening, and this is a bit of a follow-up to a video that I made about 2 weeks ago, and it is about the nuns in Cologne in Germany renting out orphans to businessmen for sex parties. And this goes into a little bit more detail. There's some numbers, and one of the reasons I wanted to follow up, because I don't think I quite fleshed out sufficiently in the original video of just what this exactly tells us about who we are dealing with here in the broader world. One of the problems with human beings is that we tend to want to be cooperative, although it may not seem that way all the time, but in general we want to get along and think the best of our fellows on this planet. And I think it's important to be reminded just exactly who we're dealing with and the callous disregard that all of these people have shown to humanity in general. Okay, so I'm going to add to this as we go through with a few comments, but this from RT. Explosive German child abuse investigation reveals 200 plus perpetrators and 300 plus victims in Catholic Diocese of Cologne. After 5 months of investigation, hundreds of alleged child abusers and victims have been identified in an 800-page independent report on abuse in the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Cologne, Germany, spanning decades. According to the investigation, as many as 243 members of the clergy and laity were identified as abusers of minors, with around 50% of the incidents between 1946 and 2018 involving sexual violence and 55% involving children under the age of 14. Over 300 victims, the majority male and abused before 1975, were also identified. Now, you have to realize that this is something that went on for an awful long time. So there were lots of people who knew about it. These people are supposed to be spiritual advisors. How you can possibly stand in a pulpit and offer spiritual guidance when in the background you are either participating in or condoning this kind of action. I mean, I really don't know how evil you have to be to do this, and what would be the motivation? You know, don't nuns and priests take a vow of perpetual poverty? Surely, you know, money isn't at the center of this. Now, you have to remember that, so you have over 300 victims. They say the statistic is that every abused male will go on to abuse 10 other males. So really that 300 victims will create 3,000 victims, which will create 30,000 victims, which will create 300,000 victims. You can see how this grows and grows and grows. And we're just talking one diocese, one city in Germany, as many as 243 members of the clergy in one city. We have to assume that this is being repeated over and over and over again, because, you know, we had the same thing in in Pennsylvania. There was over 340 priests involved in that, and that was every diocese in Pennsylvania. Absolutely staggering. So we have to assume that this is going on worldwide, and so there is an awful lot of abused people out there in the world from this absolutely disgusting behavior. And on the other side of things, you know, we have to think about the business people, the businessmen who attended these parties and abused these boys at these parties. I can pretty well guarantee you that this would be the board of directors and senior management only. The rank and file would probably have nothing to do and have no knowledge of any of this behavior. But because we're dealing with such a high level in the corporate world, these are the people who make the decisions between making sarin gas, for example, and a healing organic balm or salve that you can put on your skin. Where is your moral compass? If you will participate in something like this, whether you are part of the clergy or whether you are part of the business world, How can you possibly make a moral decision? How can you make a moral decision for the benefit of humanity when, words fail me. Words fail me so people can do this over and over and over again. And I don't know what better description we have of evil than this, when they know the long-term effects on these children, on the greater society. It's absolutely unbelievable. At least 2 clergymen will be dismissed. At least 2. Yeah, okay, at least 2. 2 of them will be dismissed from their positions following the report, and several high-up church figures are accused of breaching their duty and attempting to cover up the allegations. Oh, they're just accused. Oh dear, oh dear. What a pity. I'm sure they're losing lots of sleep about that. So the high-up church figures are not going to have anything happen to them, but 2 clergymen will be dismissed. They're the fall guys. Okay, they're the scapegoats. The Archdiocese of Cologne commissioned German law firm Kirche for the report, which was compiled over 5 months through interviews with those involved, after being accused of suppressing previous reports on historical child abuse. Cardinal Rainer Wojcicki said the incidents reported affected him deeply, and added, clergymen are guilty of inflicting violence on people entrusted to them, and in many cases without being punished for it. He said it was even worse that many of those affected by this violence had struggled to be taken seriously and protected before calling the initial handling of allegations a cover-up. The first results and official consequences of the report will be formally presented on March 23rd. Back in February, German nuns belonging apparently to the same Catholic Archdiocese of Cologne were accused of having rented orphan boys to businessmen and clergymen in the 60s and 70s for gangbangs and orgies, according to a report seen by media that was withheld from the public. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do not fall into the false belief that these people have any goodwill or best intention for humanity in their minds at all. This is so dark, it is unbelievable, and I cannot believe that a church like this would even be registered or allowed to be registered as a place of worship to God in today's world. Or maybe it would. Who knows? Who knows in this depraved world which we seem to live in. But so just bear in mind that there are 2 sides to this story. There are the priesthood and the nuns who perpetrated the renting of these boys, but there is also the business side and the moral compass and of the people who rented the boys, because they are the decision makers in this world, and their decisions have a great effect on your life, my life. Like I say, these are companies that have the choice of making bombs and missiles for war, or for making plowshares to plant seeds and grow food, to make people successful so they can be sustainable. These are moral choices. Monsanto, GMOs, Terminator seeds, seeds that commit suicide. How dark is that? See, that's a moral judgment. And then to have basically every government food inspection department turn their backs on the idea of labeling GMO foods or Monsanto. Monsanto Bay is settling out of court for the 2,4-D, the Roundup case. So that would be, you could never say that it was proven in court that Roundup had a harmful effect on human beings. If you have the best interest of humanity at heart, you don't do that kind of stuff. You know inside of yourself that is wrong, and that we should all be working for the benefit of humanity. So, as I say, don't be lulled into any false sense of security by the soothing words and platitudes handed out by the people, the leaders, the people we are supposed to look up to. Yes, don't be lulled into a false sense of security by those slick words. Okay, well, I can't ask you if you enjoyed this video, because it was a very difficult video to do, and of course, like many people, it is not a very palatable subject to talk about. But I think if we're ever going to change this world, We have to become aware of just how deep this depravity goes. And remember, this is just one city. This is just one city. Imagine this happening worldwide through this organization. How many businesses, how many priests, and how many people have really been affected by this? So please, like, comment and subscribe below, and we'll talk very, very shortly. In the meantime, this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening. You take care now. Bye-bye.